So in the clip I'm about to play, you're going to see influential podcast and radio host Charlamagne Tha God respond to President Donald Trump's direct attack on him via Truth Social. The attack came after a recent interview with Lara Trump, where Charlamagne gave a scathing criticism of Trump's presidency and his response to the Epstein files. Let's watch this together, and I'll give my 2 cents at the end.
Donkey of the day for Monday, August 4th goes to President Donald J. Trump. Now, if you haven't heard, I was on Lara Trump's show, My View, on Fox this past weekend. Drop one of the clues bombs for Lara Trump. She's been a guest on Breakfast Club before, so I had no problem showing up to her program. You know, I'm one of those silly rabbits who still believes in the First Amendment. Okay, freedom of speech. I don't have to agree with what you're saying, but we should all agree that you have the right to say it. Thankfully, Lara is a Trump who still believes in freedom of speech because her father-in-law, the 47th president of the United States of America, did not take too kindly to some things I had to say. Now, I'm going to play you a couple of parts of the conversation. Let's play when she asked me, what do I think of President Trump's second term so far?
I wouldn't give it a good rating.
Why not?
Simply because, the least of us are still being impacted the worst. Like when you look at something like, the big, beautiful bill, that's something that, I'm going to benefit from because of the tax bracket that I'm in. But, there's going to be so many people that's hurt by that bill. And, anything that, takes away Medicaid from people and is going to put people in a worse financial situation than, they were previously in, I'm not for it.
I mean, where is the lie? Trump's big, beautiful bill is going to make the rich richer and the poor poorer, okay? Cuts all the safety net programs, the Medicaid, the food stamps, the housing assistance. Millions of people will lose health care. Groceries will still be through the roof. Rent support will be through the roof. There's no relief for people who are already hurting, okay? I know I'm not supposed to care because this bill helps the rich, all right? The bill has all these corporate loopholes and capital gain breaks that benefit the 1%, but I know how I was raised, okay? On a dirt road in Mounts Corner, South Carolina. Dropping the clues bombs from Mounts Corner, all right? So I'm going to always have imposter syndrome when it comes to finances. My mind is always on the have-nots, and this big, beautiful bill hurts the have-nots, okay? Like I said, the rich will get richer while the poor will be forced to work more for less, okay? They'll have to work more for less support because they have work requirements for aid that make it harder for the poor to qualify for help. I know I'm not supposed to care because I'll benefit from the income taxes, but you got everyday items like gas and groceries, electricity. They'll be more expensive for everybody else. So Americans making low incomes will have to pay a bigger share of their income to make ends meet. And President Trump, must I remind you that you said you won the election because of one word, groceries. Do we have that?
And I went on groceries. It's a very simple word, groceries. Like almost, who uses the word? I started using the word, the groceries. When you buy apples, when you buy bacon, when you buy eggs, they would double and triple the price over a short period of time. And I won an election based on that.
People's groceries are still too high. You have not lowered the cost. Okay, the other issue I said on My View with Lara Trump is I believe traditional conservatives are quietly staging a political coup to take their party back from MAGA. I explained this to y'all a couple of weeks ago in detail, but let's listen to what I said on My View.
I think that traditional conservatives are going to take the Republican Party back. I think there's a political coup going on right now in the Republican Party that people aren't paying legislation and paying attention to.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I think that this Epstein thing is going to be a way for traditional conservatives to take their party back. I really do. I think that they know this is the issue that has gotten the base riled up. The MAGA base isn't letting this issue go, and for the first time, they know they can probably take their party back and not piss off the MAGA base. I think they're going to do that.
Just a conspiracy theory I have. MAGA, y'all like a good conspiracy, all right? I mean, based on J.D. Vance allegedly visiting Rupert Murdoch in Montana, that was the same week Trump's letter to Epstein was published by Rupert Murdoch in the Wall Street Journal. And then about a week later, Mike Johnson shut the House down to avoid a vote on releasing the Epstein files. And then the Wall Street Journal came out and said Trump knew he had been in the Epstein files since May. And I just look at how the MAGA base has responded to the Epstein issue. It just feels like traditional conservatives who lost the party to Trump could use this opportunity to get it back because the MAGA base wouldn't be upset at all if they impeached Trump and voted to remove him because he's in the Epstein files. I'm just saying, President Trump, watch your back, okay, between Elon Musk, Rupert Murdoch, and you need to watch your Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, and your VP, J.D. Vance, too. I'm just saying, okay? But anyway, Trump didn't like any of that, so he replied with a long-ass post on Truth Social. Lauren LaRosa, are you sober enough to read it?
I'm good.
Let's listen.
The very wonderful and talented Laura Trump, whose show is a big rating success, put racist sleazebag Charlamagne Tha God. Why is he allowed to use the word God when describing himself? Can anyone imagine the uproar there would be if I used that nickname?
We'll study your lessons.
He's a low IQ individual, has no idea what words are coming out of his mouth, and knows nothing about me or what I've done. Like just ending 5 wars, including a 31-year bloodbath between Republic of the Congo and Rwanda, where 7 million people have died and there was no end in sight. He did not know that. He did not know that, or India and Pakistan, or wiping out Iran's nuclear capabilities, or closing the horrendous open border, or creating the greatest economy where prices and inflation have come way down, and where stupid and corrupt Joe Biden set the record for doing the worst job as president ever. But this dope Charlamagne would vote for Sleepy Joe or Kamala? ? Remember, 1 year ago, our country was dead, and now it's the hottest, and he capitalized hottest, country anywhere in the world. MAGA.
Now, the personal insults, I don't care. He called me a sleazebag. I looked up the definition of sleazebag. Says it's a disgusting or despicable person. Depending on who you ask, that may apply to me. Okay, I personally prefer friendly neighborhood a-hole. Okay, he said I'm a low IQ individual. I don't know. I've never taken an IQ test. He said I have no idea what words are coming out of my mouth. Absolutely true. Okay, I've been surprising myself my whole life, like, damn, I actually said that? Now, let's get to your claims. He said, I don't know anything about him ending 5 wars. Mr. President, nobody knew that because it's not true. All right, there is zero evidence, nothing credible whatsoever that says President Trump played any role in ending the ongoing, keyword, ongoing conflict in the Eastern DRC or in Rwanda. Okay, America has not brokered any major peace deal between the DRC and Rwanda during Trump's second term. And wiping out Iran's nuclear capabilities, you did pull off a significant strike, but it didn't eliminate Iran's nuclear capabilities. Saying you wiped it out is an overstatement because according to reports, no enrichment facility was destroyed and Iran's nuclear threat is still very active, and some experts argue it's more dangerous now due to a lack of international oversight and the increased beef with Israel and the USA. Now, you also claim the borders were closed. Not closed, but you have tightened immigration policies and increased enforcement. You have definitely made the border harder to cross, but saying it's closed is false and ignores everyone coming over seeking legal asylum. By the way, I want border security. I just want you to keep your promise of deporting illegals and criminals. But since Homeland Security started to work to deport more people, okay, immigrants with legal status or no criminal history are being detained and deported too. That's not right. Okay, your family is always in fear.
Who family you talking about?
Okay, all right, listen. My fellow Americans, listen. My fellow Americans, we are in a strange time right now. A time we have never seen because authoritarian strategy is being used against anyone who speaks out against this administration. We saw what happened Friday. President Trump orders, the firing of labor statistic chief after data shows unemployment rates are higher. I don't know if you know President Trump, but by firing this woman, you added to the unemployment rate. But that, along with his reaction to what I said on Laura Trump, shows how authoritarians will attempt to bully people into pushing false narratives. President Trump, do you realize the best way to get the headlines you want is to simply do a good job? Is to simply do right by all Americans? He called me a racist. I didn't mention race not one time on Laura Trump. I didn't bring up the fact that President Trump issued an executive order directing oversight of institutions like the Smithsonian to remove or suppress narratives about systemic racism in Black history. They want to reframe cultural memory to eliminate discussions of historical racial injustice. That, along with the termination of diversity and civil rights programs, are considered very racist by a lot of civil rights advocates. I didn't even bring that up. Okay, I was just talking to your base, letting your base know that you haven't kept the promises you made in regards to the economy. In fact, you've made things worse. It's actually hilarious to see you upset about the high unemployment rates when you let Elon Musk take a chainsaw to the federal government and fire a bunch of government workers earlier this year. You did that, President Trump, and now you're doing exactly what the Biden administration did, trying to convince America the economy is all good when it's not. Maybe for people in a certain tax bracket, but for majority of your constituents who aren't in the 1%, it's not all good. So you can hire a new labor statistics chief to lie about the numbers. It won't stop the reality of people being unemployed. Okay, you can tell falsehoods about inflation being down. It won't stop the reality of the price of consumer goods being high because of tariffs you implemented. So listen, President Trump, don't worry about Leonard. Okay, don't worry about Charlamagne Tha God. I know something I said hit a nerve and rattled you a little bit, but I don't want you rattled. I want you to end wars. Okay, I want you to keep the border secure. I want you to have the economy booming. I want booming. Okay, I want all these things to be true. I am an American. I don't care who's in the White House. I want America to succeed. Okay, believe it or not, I'm rooting for you. But I need you focused. And right now, you're not focused. Okay, we need you focused on two things: the economy and Epstein. All right, I need you to keep the promises of a great economy and the promises of transparency with the Epstein files. And I don't want us as a people to be distracted. Whenever you see Trump trying to deflect from what's important, keep him focused. Ask two simple questions. What about the economy? What about the Epstein files? Go in his mentions, have pity parties all the time, and ask him those two things. Happy born day to President Barack Obama, and thank you for your attention to this matter. Please let Kathy Griffin give President Donald J. Trump the biggest hee-haw.
Please give this giant jar of mail the biggest hee-haw.
That's what a racism we said.
So my perspective on this is that Charlamagne is completely right. His critique of Trump is a strong one. It was based and focused on policy. It wasn't based on personal issues. I'm sure he does have personal issues with Trump, but he kept it to policy. And I'm really just glad that we're starting to hear prominent voices in American culture that aren't necessarily from the right-wing sphere. You know, Charlamagne is I think he's a Democrat, or he certainly has aligned himself with them in the past. I think we need to start hearing influential Democrats, particularly urban or black Democrats or people from that wing starting to speak up. I know you've had Bill Burr recently, who obviously isn't black, but he's married to a black woman. He represents the black community he treats the black community with respect. So I just feel it's a great move, and I think it's the time to start seeing more prominent black voices speaking out. And I feel like, you know, Charlamagne is one of the most coherent, sensible voices. He's a great communicator as well. So I think that I'm really pleased that he's decided to come and speak out against him. Trump coming at him with the low IQ comments, which we know are, you know, based in racial commentary of the 20th century. And Trump coming out with the low IQ comment, which is just disgraceful. And he only ever says that about black people or people of color. So you know that they are racist comments. And I just think he's chosen the wrong person to go against in Charlamagne. Charlamagne has a massive audience, great platform, and he can put his arguments across really, really well. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching, and please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.